Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Yura and we are back in Rush Duel Links once again to talk about, surprisingly, a second deck that has come out of the recent deck build box. This is kind of like half true. The only card that is really important from that box is the Polglace Spears. The actual star of the show, Dimension Linker, is a free card from the bingo for the 9th anniversary. And Linker does a lot for a couple of different variants of her deck. So the version that you see on screen is the Blue Eyes variant. It's the variant that I personally have been having a lot of fun with, but there's also like the Galaxy version that uses the Cosmo Predictor and the level 8 Galaxy guy that sends a card to the hand of the graveyard to double attack if there's no spell traps on field. And there's also the Gradius version that has recently been topping tournaments. This version has also topped tournaments, and it is personally the one that I like the most. And that is mainly just because I never actually had the opportunity to mess around with the Blue Eyes cards. These showed up in a structure deck a long while ago, but I was not playing during the time that they released the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and that card has never been run back. They just have not given it out again, so I've just never had it. Turns out though, Blue Eyes Bright Dragon, the main star of that Blue Eyes structure deck, doesn't actually need Blue Eyes White Dragon itself, the legend monster, to do cool things. It just needs a legend normal monster on our field. So you could in theory use Red Eyes, you could use like Summoned Skull if you so choose to, but what we actually want to be doing is using the Luster Dragon, a normal summonable legend monster that we can get into rotation very easily, and also recycle it off of the newly added Legendary Magician. So I guess, sorry, there's two cards out of the new deck build box that actually do something for us. I have really been loving this deck, and it is probably going to be the deck that I use to finish my King of Games climb that I'm gonna be honest, I could have finished like 2 weeks ago and just kind of didn't because I wanted to play more Rush Duel, and I've surrendered multiple times at 4 wins so I could keep playing Rush Duel and not worry about the King of Games wait times. And I've really been enjoying myself. So, as with all my Rush Dueling stack profiles, I know I've kind of rambled a little bit already about the general game plan, but we're going to go top to bottom. We're going to talk about the skill, then talk about the card by card, and then I've kind of already covered the general game plan, but I'll go a little bit more into it as we go further. So, starting off, we've got Power to Weave Hope, the new generic level 8 skill that kind of wants Dimension Linker for a requirement of revealing a level 8 monster in our hand if all level 5 or higher monsters in our deck are level 8 light attribute monsters with 2500 attack. We can make a monster on the field lose 900 attack until the end of this turn. Then we can apply the following effects. Play up to 2 level 8 normal monsters from your hand to your field. This only currently works with Dimension Linker because Blue Eyes does not have 2500 attack, and I don't think there's actually anything else in the game that meets that requirement. But also, if it is turn 2 onward, we could shuffle a monster on our field into the deck, and then play a level 8 monster from our hand. This works really well with things like Polglace Spears because of its main requirement to change its battle position to give something 1000 attack and piercing. You can play it in defense position and then swap it to attack because it's not a summon. It is a play, which works differently than a summon does. Specifically, you can't play it and then manually change its battle position, but it is a way of getting it onto the board in defense position, which helps a lot. You can also use this to cheat out your Blue Eyes Bright Dragon without needing the tribute requirements or finding exactly the Kaiba Man in your deck. But Kaiba Man is like the other way of cheating a level 8 onto the board, and it's fine enough. But as for what Bright Dragon actually brings to the table, this card's name becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon while in the hand, and for a requirement of sending the top card of our deck to the graveyard, this turn this card's name becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon, which will be important for a card we get to later, and it gains 500 attack. Then, if you have a face-up legend normal monster on your field, you can destroy a face-up level 8 or lower monster on your opponent's field. This is why we are playing the Luster Dragon. Being able to pop something and then swing for an insane amount of damage is really crazy, especially given the fact that like Polglace can up that damage even higher. Polglace plus Bright Dragon, if you're managed to like clear the opponent's board, can just win the game. We're also on the previously mentioned Kaiba Man, who, for a requirement of sending this face-up card on the field to the graveyard, special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand face up to your field, the Bright Dragon counting as that target. Polglace Spears, already mentioned. This is the kind of the other thing that ties the entire deck together. This piercing effect and 1000 attack gain is really massive and can absolutely win games out of nowhere. We're on double Legendary Magician to find the Luster Dragon. I mean, it's not super necessary, but it really helps to get it back into rotation if you've already used it once, or maybe you milled it off the top of the deck using something like Bright Eyes Dragon. It's fine. It's a good card. We're on 3 Animagical Witch, who is another kind of consistency tool. She is from a recent event. I think you can get her from choice tickets now. But for a requirement of revealing 2 level 7 or 8 light attribute effect monsters in your hand, you could draw cards equal to the number of monsters revealed to meet the requirement, then shuffle cards from your hand into the deck equal to the number of cards drawn by this effect. Got 2 targets for this, being the Poglace Spears and the Blue Eyes Bright Dragon. Unfortunately, it does not work with the Dimension Linker, but Linker does her own thing. It's fine. We're also on 3 copies of Steel Soldier Gale Vainari, who's just kind of like a generic aggro piece, just like a really solid generic monster. No requirement on this one, and for an effect, you can toss a coin. If heads, all face-up monsters on your field gain 500 attack until the end of this turn, and if tails, you can make a monster on your opponent's field lose 800 attack and defense until the end of this turn. This is really, really swingy and can really make your boards even scarier on the offensive. Already mentioned Linker, already mentioned Luster Dragon. We're on Hammer Shot because we are playing a separate Limit 1 spell card, that being the Burst Stream of Destruction. And this is the other reason why Bright Dragon is so important, that it turns itself into Blue Eyes White Dragon, because Burst Stream of Destruction, if you control Blue Eyes White Dragon, it is Raigeki, and then Bright Dragon can't attack, which honestly, for the cost of blowing up your opponent's entire field, that's pretty good. That's a pretty sick trade-off. We're on double Curse of the Rising Light because this deck really wants to find more cards in its opener. 1 Trapple because I think it is currently the best positioned legend trap card that is not limited. Buffered Slime to stay alive, and 3 Shiny Shady because it works really, really well with Poglace Spears and its piercing effect. With all that said, let's see it in action. So I won't lie to y'all, this deck is very, very straightforward. A lot of the games that I played with this deck have been either I lose turn 2 because I just couldn't put up enough of a board, or my opponent loses turn 2 because I punched them for 10 gajillion damage. So we'll see how this plays out. Really, really sick opening here. I think I'm just going to set the field, keep the Bright Dragon in hand, and we're just going to like see if we can survive Aqua's Onslaught here. I'm assuming it's Aqua at the very least because it's a non-archive skill with no extra deck. It could in theory be something else, but I think Bubble Actress is EMI special. Bubble Actress I've seen a lot of on ladder recently, and it's not really a surprise why. The deck is really strong. I do kind of wonder if they have the new card because we got a Go Rush World level increase, which is really cool. Ooh, Abyss Soldier. Okay, that is getting shady. I know they have cards in hand. I just don't want them to get additional advantage, and I don't want them to go Nuvia to get the Rainopolis back. So this is potentially a way of turning them off of that. We also know, yep, they have the Dying Keto, which I'm going to trap whole. I want to just keep them off as many monsters as possible because there's a very real chance we can just... All right, they still have the Nuvia. There's a very real chance we can just kill them into the sun. Do they have a 3rd monster? They do. Okay, so this Nuvia is going to get its effect off. We're going to take likely the 17 here. I guess it's going to be 19. But that's not the end of the world. They don't have any backup for this. I'm really not too worried about taking 19 here because we have a lot of draws that do some crazy things here. And yeah, that'll... that Kaiba Man isn't really doing anything for us. We can go Hammer Shot here. You know what the Kaiba Man is doing for us? The Kaiba Man is going to be our... skill activation to put back into the deck. So we'll reel the Dimension Linker here. We are going to shrink the Kanan, the Beautiful Sword Mistress. We're going to play the Linker. And then we are going to return the Kaiba Man to deck. Place the Spears. And I actually should have shrunk the Nuvia here because I could have punched over for... a lot of damage here. I think I am still going to curse. And I'm just going to have to live with the fact that I changed the wrong monster, but it's okay. We'll go Spears here. Spears is going to swap itself to attack, and we're going to boost the Linker. Linker is going to punch into the face down for 3,300 points of piercing, and then we're going to swing into the Nuvia for a big, big chunk of damage. Very real chance we die here, but we're going to find out. Let's see what they've got. They've gone through 2 Nuvias already. They have Rainopolis in play. They found a boss monster, which of course they do. They play like 9 of them. They're going to find the third Nuvia and the Tutuma's Dark Witch. Send an Overrush Storm because they don't need it because I have no back row. They're going to summon the Nuvia out, and they definitely have all the requirements needed to do this. They're going to go Cornful. So there's definitely no way they don't have the Nuvia online. This skill still lets you tribute for 1, right? Yeah. Second Cornful is really scary, so there's a very real chance that we just kind of explode here. We do have some big bodies on board, so maybe we don't. It kind of depends on what boss monsters they find. Because we know they have, I think, Cleaning Prodigy, right? Who, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the good ones. Yeah, this one gains 1,000. Just depends on what the other ones in their hand are. Did they find a second boss monster? If they didn't, they can't clear our board. So there's Cleaning. That's the one we knew. They have to rip a card out of their hand to use its effect. They're going to go Nuvia to boost. All right, Cleaning Prodigy. Sends the Compulse. I don't know about that one. And then Food Prodigy comes down. Okay, so we're not... Am I dead? Not dead. Okay. I couldn't do the math fast enough. Weird hand here. Can I win from this position? I don't know. I think it kind of depends on the Vaynari effects. So we're going to go Spears here. We're going to shrink you. Return the Kaiba Man. Summon out the Spears. Actually, I can win if I flip Tails a single time. So let's flip. There's one. That also does it. Two heads also does it. All right. Puglace Spears. Swap itself. Boost. Swing over. Lethal. And we have protection for next turn too. I really don't think... maybe they just didn't do the math on that, but I really don't think sending the Compulse was correct there. All right, into the second one. I have really been loving this deck, I won't lie. It's just been a lot of fun. Oh, please have the new high-tech card. So I kind of mentioned it before, but we got a Go Rush level world increase, and the high-tech card and the joint tech card we got are really sick. They are so cool. I actually really want, like, if I don't hit King of Games on this deck, I'm going to try to hit it on high tech because I adore high tech. It's so fun. This hand is looking phenomenal, by the way. We're going to leave this Legendary Magician to kind of suss out what they have. All right, so they do have a response. Reveal Bright Eyes. Nothing worth sending to the graveyard. That's fine. We'll go... Am I going to get two guys on board? I don't think I am. So I think the play here... Oh, I mean, I guess I could curse. Yeah, let's curse. I know they have Shady or something back there, and I want to get... Yeah, exactly this. I wanted to get... I wanted to get Witch and back row. Let's reveal both of these. I don't need that many bosses. I really don't need that many bosses. We'll put back... Oh, I could do double Puglace. That might actually be the move. No, it's not, because I can only play one. I guess it doesn't matter too much. This is weird. Did I put back the Bright Dragon? I'm going to put back the Puglace. Those are weird draws. I might just Tribute Summon here and try to... no. Let's go Power to Weave Hope. Puglace. Shrink you. We'll put back you. Place the Puglace. So I'm pretty sure that's Shady. I should have summoned this Vaynari first. It's fine. They know I have a Bright Eyes. Okay, yeah, they're not going to do it. I'm going to Vaynari here. Flip heads. That's pretty nice. Let's go Puglace. Boost you. We're going to set the Shady and then not extend further. I'm going to swing into this face down for a huge chunk. Are they dead? Did they just die? They just died. All right, cool. We could have gotten hard punished if they decided to Shady the Vaynari and the Puglace, but they knew I had another boss monster in hand, so they didn't want to do that. Oh, that felt great. They absolutely could have killed us into the sun there, though. One more. All right, into Zuijo. 3 different decks. I love seeing 3 different decks when I do these. Oh my god, it's my cog rank up. Hold on. Everyone lock the fuck in. Okay, I can work with this hand. I need to find like a guy. I would really like to find a guy. 3 back row in Dark Galaxy is not... Whoa. Hold. That could be a crazy draw. Let's Curse of the Rising Light here, because I need to get draws. Yep. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling good. Let's go Legendary Magician. Reveal. Nothing. That's fine. Okay. How are we doing this? We are going to summon this Luster Dragon. I needed like another guy. I really needed another guy. We'll go Pluglace, Shrink You. We're going to send back the Legendary Magician and then summon out... This is what, 3k plus this? No, Pluglace is better. We'll go Pluglace effect. There's a very real chance this is like negate attack or something. So, like I might not be able to do a chunk of damage. All right, that's fine. All right, we'll get in for a good chunk. They're down to 700, and I've got Shady. I expect them to have like Universal Storm or something. We're really hoping this Shady manages to stick a little bit. They're going to go Void Veil Fusion draw. This deck is really... Oh, that's horrifying. This deck is really sick. I love Dark Galaxy Fusion, but it is very, very scary to play into. What did they find? Dark Prophet comes down. They don't have the requisites in Graveyard to get anything off this. Okay, we are going to stop the Protostar here. I'm going to send the Bright Dragon here. This feels like a really good Shady. They might have Curse, and if they do, that's okay. I just really wanted to clog their board up a little bit. Yep, here's Chrysor. Okay. Do they have another Dark Prophet? They don't. They're just going to swing. That's a lot of spell cards. They have 1 attack off this Chrysor here. So they can clear our Luster Dragon, which I'm not too worried about. We know these back row aren't anything like trap card wise. Star Restart comes down. Okay, so they're going to get the Pale Rider back and the Fusion. It kind of comes down to, is that last card in hand another Dark Prophet? It's not likely, but there's a very real chance that it could be if they just drew really crazy. They also don't have... They do have 3, but it doesn't matter too much. Corridor last card. All right, we might just die here. Prophet comes back. Actually, no, they... no, yeah, they have a Fusion. Okay, so this is... Actually, they can't... Oh, Theogonia. I wasn't even thinking about Theogonia. Okay. Scary. Really scary. Down comes the Chrysor. Chrysor effect, 3 attacks. We die here, I'm pretty sure. Because this is 500 over. This is... Okay. DHD. They had DHD anyway. All right. Whatever. Whatever. It's okay. That's fine. Happens to the best of us. Maybe I ripped that Shady too early. I was really worried that there was Universal Storm back there, but I don't know. Let's hop back to the deck and talk about it a little bit. All right, back with the deck. And yeah, there's a couple of things that I probably could have done better in those games. We still won 2 of them somehow. And that third one, I do think I probably could have won if I shadied a little bit more optimally. But like, it's Dark Galaxy Fusion. They have so much gas to play with it so many times. It's really hard to know when to stop that deck, especially because I don't have a lot of experience with it recently. So it's hard to know when their choke point is because it's really hard to know what they have in their hand. Regardless, I think this deck is really, really sick. I love it a lot. I think it's really fun to play with. And even though I think that it has some weaknesses and it is definitely not like a tier 0 meta threat, it is absolutely and has shown to be worth topping tournaments, and it's absolutely worth playing on ladder. This deck is a lot of fun. And I think the tools that it has access to are really, really sick. Additionally, this is not the only way to play the deck. There's the Gradius version of the deck that has been seeing a lot more recent success. There's the Galaxy version of the deck that I think is pretty cool. And there's, of course, this one. This is one of those skills where, because it's so generic, there's a very real chance that this shows up in like future decks that get released as we get more cards available to us. But for right now, I think these 3 variants are just enough to warrant giving this deck a shot. It's actually not too expensive to build. A lot of these cards are free, and the other ones are like from structure decks, or like they're not from very big boxes. Especially if you play the Gradius version, I think that is literally just from like the 2 most recent main boxes, the deck build box and the mini box. So give it a try. I think it's a lot of fun. But with all that said, I want to thank you all for sticking around to the end of the video. I know this was a shorter one than usual, but like this deck is just, games with this deck end so quickly. It's hard to get a longer video out of it because it's so aggro. But next video on the channel is probably going to be Masochist episode 2. If not, it'll be a Meadowlands video, which I do have cooking. Probably not the intro to Meadowlands because that's still a ways out. But regardless, I am just excited to be back to making things. And I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.